Yahuwah, sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, and our hearts will sing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All see how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great is Yahuwah. We believe you, Abba Yahuwah, for your kindness, your mercy, and your long suffering towards us as we turn our attention to the writing, Mishlei 15:8, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah, but the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Hillel 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Psalm 1:8, for we shall receive power after that, the Ruach Kodesh shall come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and in all Judea, and in Shamar and unto the uttermost part of the earth. Ayah 33:4, the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again, he is a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Micah 3:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment of might to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And now it's going to do our affirmation, from our affirmation and declaration, and then we're going to seal it with the word. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah
In my Ruach.
in my Ruach.
That life is the Torah.
That life is the Torah
Of Yasharal.
of Yahshua.
I purpose to walk in the Torah.
I purpose to walk in the Torah
Of life.
of life.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush.
Yahush,
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab.
Yahuwah's ahab
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power.
Yahuwah's power
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
In me is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us do our declaration. Repeat with me. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people, Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite,
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Close by before I came as we prepare to bow before him and seal this our title praise, prayer, and worship. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
Be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. We have just decided to heal 19 and 14. You may be seated in His presence as we come to this portion of our time of class. I pray thus far everyone has had an exciting Baruch Yom as we have made it into the Layla. We appreciate him for allowing us to be back in his presence one more time as a unit together. This Shabbat, our theme is Wayishlach, Wayishlach, Wayishlach. And it means, and he sent. And we're going to be coming from Bereshit chapter 32, beginning at verse 3. And we're going to read 8 verses. And I'm not going to be before you that long. I'm going to read these verses and move forward. All right, chapter 32, beginning at verse 3. And we're going to read 8 verses. Once again, it's important. Make sure you get a cough drop, please. Make sure you get one. All right. Once again, we want to also give thanks unto the Abba for Fab Ames Edits for baruching us with a better lighting system, and so we do want to give Abba Yahuwah praise for that. To balance out our light. Those of you who have walked with us from beginning to where we are now know that our light has drastically changed. We went from it being a little dim and lights, light bulb here and there and so forth, and overhead lights, but we do want to truly appreciate Abba Yahuwah for her act of kindness for sowing into us. So that our lighting will be better and you will have a quality video and quality news feed. So when you go back to look at it or listen to it, the lighting is better and you'll be able to see us. And so pray with us once again as we go forward on this Layla. We're going to begin once again in the book of Bereshit. And we're going to begin with verse 3 at in chapter 32. Mm-hmm. Let's start at verse 3. Go ahead, you have it. Go ahead and start.
Bereshit chapter 32, starting at verse 4. What is it, verse 3?
Uh-huh.
And Yaakov sent messages before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Say this to my master Esau. Your servant Yaakov said this, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now. And I have bulls and donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to inform my master to find favor in your eyes. So the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you and 400 men with him. Verse 7. And Yaakov was greatly afraid and distressed. So he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels, into two groups. And he said, if Esau comes to the one group and attacks it, then the other group which is left shall escape. And Yaakov said, O power of my Abba Abraham, and power of my Abba Yitzhak, Yahuwah, who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you. And I do not deserve the least of all the kind acts and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I have passed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two groups. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, I want to look at this as I was studying this. It was amazing. So we're going to look at it from the scroll of Yasher, chapter 32. If you don't have it, that's fine. Just listen along with me as I read, because I want us to see some things, and I want us to compare some things in this. Here it is. We know from reading on last Shabbat, chapter 28, all the way to chapter 32. And we know we were able to follow and see what took place. We were able to see what caused Yaakov to get where he was. And so now he's finally at this place to where word has gotten back also to him, because he has to pass through this place to where he know his Ben is, meaning his brother. And so what is so unique about this chapter is that there are those that believe that Yaakov basically reached out to Esau first, which I'm going to show tonight that that's not so. That it was Laban who had basically hinted and basically revealed Yaakov's position and him leaving and preparing to go back to his Ema and Abba's country. And so we're going to read it, like I say, from the scroll of Yasher, chapter 32. And at that time, Yaakov sent messengers to his Ben Esau toward the land of Seir, and he spoke to him words of supplication. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall ye say to my master, to Esau, thus saith thy servant Yaakov, let not my master imagine that my Abba's baruching with which he did baruch me has proved beneficial to me. In other words, he said, look, I'm not coming here to try to take anything from you. And so once again, you have to understand there are many rabbis and sages that believe but that Yaakov made the first or the initiative, the first step, and was the one to initiate the conversation and to initiate him coming after him. But I'm going to show that that's not valid and that's not right. So as we read on, this is what he's telling his messengers, and even those that will believe that the messengers were Malak. But I don't believe they were Malak. I believe they were a part of his caravan. Some brothers that he could trust and he knew that would go deliver the message and come on back without fear. So here it is in verse 3. He goes on to finish his message. He said, for I have been these 20 years with Laban, and he deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, as it has all been as it has all been already told unto my master. Now, verse 3 sums it up. How would he know unless Laban had already spoken to him? And this is why Yaakov is making reference to him. In other words, I'm just stating my part of this because you already know what is already taking place. Verse 4, and I served him in his bed very laboriously, and Yahuwah afterwards saw my affliction, my labor, and the work of my hands. And he caused me to find mercy and esteem in his sight. Verse 5, and afterward through Yahuwah, great mercy and kindness acquired oxen, asses, and cattle, and men servants and maid servants. So we must understand that in that time, it is Yahuwah that caused him to prosper and be baruched. And so this, once again, is what he is conveying to Esau. And now I am coming to my land and my home, to my Abba and Ema, who are in the land of Canaan. And I have sent to let my master know all this in order to find esteem in the sight of my master, so that he may not imagine that I have of myself obtained wealth, or that the Baruch with which my Abba Baruch me has benefited me. In other words, he's saying, I'm not coming here to bother what is yours. I'm just coming here to pass through and go go home. Now, as we read in verse 7, and those messengers went to Esau and found him on the borders of the land of Edom, going toward Yaakov. And 400 men of the children of Seir, the Horite, were standing with drawn swords. That's what it says in the scroll of Yasher. Now, as we read, and we're going to go back into, let's look in the writings. Let's go back into the scrolls. And it says, and it says the same thing, okay? Now it goes into verse 6. He says, so the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we came to your your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you with 400 men. Now it is alluding to, or allowing us to see, that the reason why, once again, Yaakov sent word is because he is trying to find a sting there. And so there are three things that have been mentioned when you're dealing with your enemies. First thing is prayer, gifts of appeasement, and war. These are the threefold preparations in fighting against Esau's descendants. And so it is important that we understand also that whenever you're coming up against a people or a person that is greater than you, these were the three principles: prayer, gifts, which are appeasements, and war. Eventually, we're going to, this thing is going to mature into a time of war. Now, once again, let us look at this, because it has been stated once again in many of the writings or many of the commentaries that Yaakov initiated the conversation, or he was the one who opened the door. But it was actually Laban who basically, and as we continue to read on, we're going to see that it was Laban who actually got that ball rolling. And this is why Yaakov sent the message to Esau, because Esau was on his way to Yaakov. And that's why the messengers came back and said, in verse 7, and those messengers went to Esau and found him on the borders of the land of Edom, going toward Yaakov. And 400 men of the children of Seir, the Horite, were standing with drawn swords, alluding to that even if he had not sent word, they were already on their way to meet them. Why? Because Laban, messy self, had already sent them, or had already sent word. He's coming. He's on the path. Now, when we look in verse 8, and the messengers of Yaakov told Esau all the words that Yaakov had spoken to them concerning Esau. Now, and I'm going to read verse 9, and then we're going to pick up from there. And Esau answered them with pride and contempt, and said unto them, surely I have heard, listen at this, and truly it has been told me what Yaakov has done to Laban. So the negative word had already got out there. Let me tell y'all something. How do we bring this into our current situation and time? Is that when you got messy folk out there, and you got people out there that know situations that are going on, and what they will do, they will be two-faced. They'll tell you one thing in your face, and then the person that you are dealing with, or the person that you may have or have beef with you, they'll turn right around and tell them where you are or what's going on with your life. This is what causes a lot of problems. These are things we are supposed to avoid at any cost. Are you following me? Yeah. We are supposed to make shalom and not be shalom breakers, but we are supposed to initiate shalom.
That's right.
And it is so. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And this is important. Why is it important? Because you have to understand he was sending a message, in other words, to prepare the path for him and his mishpachot. But Laban's messy self had already told him. And so he had already stirred the pot. Now, once again, as we continue to read, we're going to see why Esau was even madder at him the more because of what Laban had basically stated. Now, listen how he plays it out in verse 9. And Esau answered them with pride and contempt and said unto them, surely I have heard, meaning you're not the only one that has brought me this news. Truly it has been told unto me what Yaakov has done to Laban, who exalted him in his house and gave him his daughters for wives. Now you see, this is talking about somebody completely different. And he begot sons and daughters and abundantly increased in wealth and riches in Laban's house through his means. You see how people will turn around and twist and distort. A liar will always lie. Liars can never tell the truth. No matter how they try to formulate it in their mouths, a liar is going to be a liar. No matter what. Now, once again, the way it is portrayed is that he's, you trying to key up what? The way it is portrayed is that he goes to his place. Now, mind you now, Esau is not stupid because he knows that when Yaakov got there, Yaakov had nothing. Why? Because his son brought it back to him. Right. Everything that he had, he brought it back to Esau. Now, once again, here it is. He is basically disgruntled and angry with them. And disgruntled and angry people will gather with people. That same mentality. I saw this movie, Birds of a Feather That Flock Together. That's one of the truest sayings that there ever was. Right. That people that have to deal with the same issues, the same problems, tend to gather together because they find comfort among one another. If you're suffering with this or you know somebody dealing with this, it's easier to deal with somebody that can relate to your situation than it is with somebody that does not. Right. And it is so. And so here it is. He goes back and he's basically angry with him. But mind you, once again, Esau is not stupid. He's very smart. And so is Laban. And so their whole desire was to basically box him in. And so, excuse me. So he's basically telling him, you increased in wealth because you were in his house. No, he increased in wealth because he followed the plan of Abba Yahuwah and he was obedient. Obedience brings prosperity. Are you following me?
Yes.
It causes us to prosper. And so he says through his means. Now you can imagine he's probably mad and probably pacing the floor because he's saying, here this food and did it again. He got me, now he went and got mama's brother. Y'all know how the saying goes. He done went in and he done got mama's brother. So now I got to correct the wrongs that he has brought in. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. All right, let's begin at, I read all the way to verse 10. Let's pick up at verse 10 and let's continue to read, please. Well, actually to verse 11, I'm sorry. We're going to start at verse 11 because you read verse 10, right?
Yes.
Okay, verse 11. All right, I want to deal with verse 10 while my reader is getting to the page. I do not deserve the least of all the kind acts and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two groups, making it known what he has become thus far. And so once again, it's very important for us to understand this. Now look, in verse 10 in Yasher, it says, and when he saw that his wealth was abundant in his riches, great, he fled with all belonging to him from Laban's house. And he led Laban's daughters away from the face of their Abba as captives taken by the sword without telling him of it. Once again, here this is, and let me tell you something, second-handed stories are always the worst kind. I'm going to say that again. Second-handed stories are always the worst kind. Unless you hear both sides of the story, you go off of somebody else's story, unless you see it with your own eyes and know. Most of the time, if you're being partial, you're going to be partial through the whole thing.
Right.
Now, some stuff you can basically determine it based upon what you see, and if you know that person, you know that person's not going to lie. But here it is. You're not going to make me believe that Esau knew that Laban was greedy and that he was a trickster. He was the true trickster. And so we see how it is painted out. And now, mind you, he's telling the messengers that have to go back to Yaakov and give him an answer as to him speaking to them and saying what they had to say to him. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read verse 11. Yes.
Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me, and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So he lodged there that same night, and took what came to his hand as a present to Esau his brother, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants, every drove by itself. And he said to his servants, pass over before me and put some distance between successive droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong, and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Yaakov. It's a present sent to my master Esau, and behold, he is also behind us. And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Now, we see, now this is his prayer in verse 11. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my Ben, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he come and shall smite me and the mother with the children. Because he's saying, look, he has no morals, he has no scruples, and he's subject to kill them and the children. He just want to wipe me out. He doesn't care. And so it is important that we see why he is the way he is. Now you have to understand, once again, let's kind of go back into the back story, where you understand Esau is mad and wants to kill him because he says he tricks him, and this is why he had to leave. Now I'm sure when he got back home that very Yom, and he began to talk about the very things he dealt with when it came down to fighting with Nimrod, his uncle, great uncle. Many have said that he cut his head off, but we know that if you continue to read that he didn't kill him, he wounded him severely. He wounded him severely, but he did not kill him. And so you can imagine probably the talk that here it is. He's this strong, he's the opposite of Yaakov. I'm not saying Yaakov was weak by no means, because if you out in the field, you're going to have some kind of strength, have some kind of meat on your bones. You got to have some kind of strength, because look, he wasn't just taking them and just walking them. Some of them, I'm sure he had to pick up and toss a couple of places. And so I'm sure that he was a fit, and he was up to the task. But what I'm saying, 9 times out of 10, the statute of both of them were different. I have twin cousins, and you could tell one is taller and one is a little more heavier than the other because of how they, basically have built their bodies. And so I'm sure that in his mind, he's thinking, he's going to tear me from limb to limb. He don't even need a sword. All he has to do is just put his hands on me. And so he's afraid, and he begins to cry out to Abba Yahuwah of his concerns. Things when we have concerns, we can cry out to the Abba. And I believe with all my heart that he will hear us, and that he will make ways for us, and that he will cause things to work for us, and he will cause things to be different for us because he hears our prayers. And so as we continue to look on, it goes on and he says in verse 12, for you said, I shall certainly do great to you and shall make your seed as the sand of the sea, which are too numerous to count. Now, when we go back into the scroll of Yasher in verse 11, and it says, not only to Laban has Yaakov done thus, but also unto me has he done so, and has twice supplanted me, and shall I be silent? Now, once again, if we go back into, as we read on last week, those of you that might have tuned in, and if not, I tell you to go back and listen to the class, is when we began to really look at, there was a lot of things going on when it came down to the Mishpachah. And many have believed that the reason why they called Leah tender-eyed is because she was supposed to have been promised to Esau. But because of the manner and the way Esau carried himself, she was not. Basically, Laban pushed her off on Yaakov. And so with that being said, here it is, he says he supplants him twice. Now, you have to understand, we can kind of filter that in there too. Because here it is, also by him marrying into the family of, or having the daughters of Laban marry him, whatever was theirs also comes into one big melting pot. One of the things that we must understand is that the Abba was responsible for giving unto his children, whether male or female. But this was not what Laban had done. Basically, he had taken everything and from them, he basically had stole their inheritance. You know, when people have a certain money, what is it called? It just was on the tip of my tongue. When children have trust funds, and the person that's over them while they are still a child has the authority to go in, and sometimes, not all the time, can go in and take money out. And many times this has come about right when the child turns 18 or 25 or however long it's set up. And when it's time for them to draw that money out, it's not funny, but by the time they go to get it out, they don't have nothing in there, nothing worth even going to the bank to get. Why? Because the person that was over them took it out and utilized it. You can kind of look at that's what Laban had done to his two daughters and his grandchildren. And so here it is. You can look at Esau, and he's basically trying to take all this and heap it up and make it one situation. We know when he basically sold the birthright, also the Baruch went with that too. You can't sell something. It's almost like selling the frame of the car, but then saying, I'm not going to give you the motor. Well, the motor is a part of it. It's in there. Are you following me?
Yes.
There was a situation where a vehicle of ours was towed, and when we got ready to go, and I wanted the battery because the battery was $100 and some battery, almost $200 battery out of it. And so the man, which me personally, he still could have given it to us, but he chose not to. He said, because it goes or it belongs with the vehicle, so you can't take it out. So with him believing that it was okay, in other words, to sell the sacrificial part of his inheritance, he felt like that which would flesh it out and give it really what it is was not a part of that. Right. But that's not so. When he sold it, he sold everything that was attached to it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And so now in verse 11, he says, and shall I be silent? In other words, he's going to try to go and rain some thunder on somebody when nobody tricked him. It was something he willfully did. Verse 12, now therefore I have this young come with my camps to meet him, and I will do unto him according to the desire of my heart. Now he's ready to go and tear him up. Now you hear that word camp. He said, I'm coming with my camp folks. We coming and we are going to destroy him. Now you have to understand, when you walk and have that mentality, you're acting just like Esau. I'm going to say that again. When you have that mentality and you carry yourself like that, you have the same mentality as Esau. Esau was guilty, but yet he wanted to rain down thunder because he had been beguiled. Yaakov didn't beguile him. He basically fooled his own self into believing that he could sell that and not pay the price for it, and walk away with a bag full of money and not realize you don't get the money in the bag. You can keep the bag if you want to, but you don't get the money in the bag. And in some instance, the bag comes with the money. And it is so. And the messengers returned and came to Jacob and said unto him, we came to thy brother, to Esau, and we told him all thy words, and thus has he answered us. And behold, he cometh to meet thee with 400 men. Now you have to understand, the reason why, once again, Yaakov sent messengers is because he wanted to soften the blow by getting to him before he got to them to do what he was going to do. So his whole thing was, maybe if I send him this and show him, I'm wealthy. Now you have to understand, to be able to give somebody 200 female goats and you ain't missing none, that's a lot of stuff.
Right.
You can look at, if they had drones in that time, he probably covered that whole side of where he was. 200 female goats and 20 male goats. Now this is where you start seeing men that where you start seeing the male population is less, because males, when it comes to this type of setting, you don't put more than one male in a situation like this, or they will fight to the death. Right. So you can imagine if he gave him 200 female goats, that means that there was a certain amount to 20. I'm not thinking about math right now. I would kind of put that out for you to multiply for you, but I believe it would be something like you divide 20 into 200, be something like 10, right? 10 times 20 is 200. Yeah, so that'd be something like 10 to one goat. Are you following me?
Yes.
So each one would have 10, but they would have to be somewhere else, and that one goat, that one male goat, would have to service them, because that's all it is. They have no affection. They know nothing about companionship. Are you following me? Yeah. I said it on last week. The only thing that have mates are socks and shoes. We're looking for companionship, not mateship. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. Now, 200 ewes, 20 rams, same principle. 30 milk camels with colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. And he gave it into the hands of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants. Now, the reason why I jumped down once again is to show a point. He was not hurting for anything. He had, because Abba Yahuwah what? Multiplied him. Yes, he had to work for it, but he still multiplied him. Are you following me?
Yes.
And he was able to break away from Laban at a great ripe age to where he could still enjoy it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, here it is. After they do that, now we look at verse 14. Now then, know and see what thou shalt do, and pray before Yahuwah to deliver thee from him. Verse 15. And when he heard the words of his brother, which he had spoken to the messengers of Yaakov, Yaakov was greatly afraid and he was distressed. And now you have to understand, somebody telling you they're going to come and do whatever they want with you. He in his mind, I'm sure he's probably thinking torture. He's going to drag me behind a couple of them animals. Then once he finished, he ain't going to let me die. And once he finished dragging me, he's going to pull my fingernails off my hands. He gonna pull my teeth. He gonna pluck all my eyelashes out, and they have beards. So he probably thinking he gonna pull every strand of hair off my face, one piece at a time. Then he's probably gonna tickle my feet, y'all. Just want to take a sidebar real quick. I saw a meme that was too funny. It said, y'all, it said that if this is a situation where everybody in there playing dead, and the person says tickle every MF person's feet. It said if the game would be over, nobody would play dead no more. Why? Because most of the people that we know are very ticklish under their feet. Y'all, that had me laughing just by reading it. Because you have to understand that's one of the most delicate places of a person's body is the bottom of their feet. It is. The bottom of people's feet. And you talking about tickling it? You can kill somebody. You make them hurt themselves. Make them break their neck trying to get away from you tickling the bottom of their feet. You got some people that be like, oh, it don't bother me. It don't bother me. But for those of us that do, be like, I'll shoot you if you mess with my feet. Right. Don't even play. So, but once again, the important thing of this is that here it is. He is trying to make the pot sweet. He is trying to make it to where when he reaches him, there can be some type of collaboration. There can be some type of talking and not fighting. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And so he was so distressed. And so he had to kind of push his family away. And so verse 16, Yaakov prayed to Yahuwah, his power. And he said, "O Yahuwah, power or savior of my Abbas, Abraham and Isaac, thou didst say unto me when I went away from my Abba's house, saying, I am Yahuwah thy savior, the savior of thy father Abraham and the savior of Isaac. Unto thee do I give this land and thy seed after thee. And I will make thy seed as the stars of Shemayim, and thou shalt spread forth to the four sides of Shemayim. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be baruched." Now you have to understand, many times we take that and we extend it beyond the perimeters or the boundaries or the people in which this is being spoken about. He's talking about us as a people. He's talking about us as a nation of people. Nobody else. Let me tell you something. It's more than enough of us to cover and to spread out on the face of this earth. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. And then you got to understand, you can't look at it from the mentality where they've already manipulated and played with our minds. You got to look at it from that which is truth, from that which is flat. Are you following me?
Got it.
Not that which is curved, has a curve to it. And so when you can really begin to look at it, you can understand that it is easy to look at and truly be able to fathom that we can cover the face of the earth. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. Many times people think when you talk about flat earth that we are crazy, and and that they try to always prove it. But let me tell y'all something. A lot of stuff that we read has been manipulated and really messed up. And so he tells him this. And so now let's look at verse 18. I'm going to read verse 18 from the scroll of Yashar. "And thou didst establish thy words, and didst give unto me riches and children and cattle, as the utmost wishes of my heart didst thou give unto thy servant, and didst give it unto me all that I asked from thee, so that I lacked nothing." Because remember when he left, when we read in the latter part in chapter, I think it was in chapter 29, chapter 28 or 29, where he speaks to him and he tells him, he says, now if you, he makes a promise to him, he said, if you would take care of me, give me clothes. He said, let's see, let's go back here. Let me find it in chapter, I believe it's in chapter 28. Let's look at it. Maybe I'm overlooking it. Just give me 1 second so I can show you the promise he made to Yahuwah. And he made a vow to him in chapter 9. Chapter 20, chapter 28. Chapter 28, and that latter verse, verse 22. Then this stone which I have set as a standing column shall be Power's house, and all that you give me, I shall certainly give a tenth to you. But let's go back up. And Yaakov in verse 20 made a vow saying, seeing power is with me and has kept me in this way I am going, and has given me bread to eat and a garment to put on. When I have returned to my Abba's house, he's saying, now, when I go back home, if you do all these things for me, now you have to understand this is an exception and not the rule. This is an exception and not the rule. Many times people make these kind of vows and never keep them. Many times people try to coerce Abba Yahuwah into doing things, and he's not going to do it. You can hang that up. Because there are some things that we know we are supposed to do. And it's not that chance, happenstance gets us a lot of times in situations. We get our own self in many times in situations. Why? Because sometimes these are self-inflicted wounds. And so the most important thing is this, that if you make a vow unto Abba Yahuwah, defer not to keep it. If you're going to do it, make sure you do whatever you have to do to keep it. Now, don't take this and think I'm lying. If that means you got to get somebody out your life or move them out the way to keep it, then you better do so. Why? Because if you make a vow to him and that person or that thing is impeding that, you made a vow, and he's not going to look at it and say, well, I know the person that's there is the reason for this. No, he's going to look and say, well, you made the vow, you fix it, because you're going to keep that vow that you made to me. So it's important that we understand. Are y'all following me? Yes. Very important that we understand. And so he makes this vow, and he's sure, and he's like, okay, I made this vow to you, and this is what I'm talking to you about. So I know you didn't bring me here for me to die at the hands of my Ben or my brother. Let me tell you something. Fear will make you do a whole lot of crazy things. Yes, yes, it will. Fear will make you doubt yourself. Fear will make you doubt the Abba. Fear will make you go into crazy, go into fits if you're not careful. Fear, when we were in Christianity, they had many acronyms for it, but I like fear is false evidence appearing real. And even if it's not false evidence, and guess what? Even if it's real evidence, it still can't do anything. That evidence or whatever is stacked against you or coming up against you can't do anything with you unless Abba Yahuwah gives it or them permission. Right. So it's important that we understand that. And so with that being said, he opens up and he begins to cry out to Abba Yahuwah concerning his situation. And once again, that is in chapter 28, verse 20, all the way to 22. Now, we come to this portion and verse 18, and then we're going to pick it up and start reading at I'm going to read to 20, then we'll pick up at 21. And thou didst establish thy words, and didst give unto me riches and children and cattle, as the utmost wishes of my heart didst thou give unto thy servant. Thou didst give unto me all that I asked from thee, so that I lack nothing. He said, look, because remember now, when he was at this place, he had nothing. Everything had been stolen from him, to the very clothes that he was supposed to have, the change of clothes. He only had the clothes on his back. So he was asking him, if you multiply me so that I can have another pair of shoes, I promise you, I will give you 10% of everything that I make. Are you following me? Yes. Very important for us to understand that. Verse 19, and thou didst afterwards say unto me, return to thy parents and to thy birthplace, and I will still do well with thee. Now you have to understand, Yaakov did not just jump up because he had a whole lot of stuff. He left because Abba Yahuwah told him it was time for him to leave. Right. You have to understand, you can't leave a place until the Abba releases you to. If you go anytime before that or after that release, you will find yourself miserable, and you will find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. Are you following me? Yes. Very important for us to understand that. All right. Now, as we look at verse 20, and now that I have come, and thou didst deliver me from Laban, I shall fall in the hands of Esau, who will slay me, yea, together with the mothers of my children. Now, once again, the reason why I believe it seems so real to him is because, you're leaving a place and you've shared with this person. Now, mind you, once again, when he got there, I believe he opened up and began to share with him about his encounter with Esau. He may not have gone into detail about everything that he did, but I believe he told him enough to where conclusions were drawn that Esau wanted to kill him. And so now he gets away from Laban, but now here it is. I'm sure in his mind, he's probably saying, I know he told him, but why would he go and do this? Now you have to understand, this is after he's gotten to know him, And so, there's sometimes, what's that saying, hindsight is 20/20. Sometimes you don't see things until you're in it and you kind of look back. That's when you can see clear when you look backwards. Don't look backwards. Are you follow me? So, but that's when you're able to see certain things. But the thing of it is that here it is. I believe what made it so realistic to him and made it real to him is that here it is. He done made it this far, and now his brother with 400 men with swords drawn, and the only thing that he has is his people. Now, mind you, I don't believe that the people were pushovers and could fight, right. But he's concerned about, I only have servants. Now, I know they probably could have picked up a couple of stones and some sticks and did what they had to do, but he had warriors. He had people that were trained and ready to do. 9 times out of 10, Esau had been waiting for that moment, for that time, because if he was talking to Laban, then he was talking to him before he left. And so finally now he's in his mind thinking, I got the chance. I'm going to smoke this fool now because I got this opportunity. Once again, let me encourage your heart at this point. No matter how hard it may look and no matter how it may seem like the odds are stacked against us, and we maintain and walk in truth and hold on to Abba Yahuwah and his instructions, he won't let anything overtake us,
Right.
no matter how real it look. And so it's important that we hold on. Yes, you might have to pray one of those prayers that Yaakov prayed. Abba Yahuwah, now you said you will bring me to this place. Now I'm here, and look at everything that is stacked against me. But don't let it be out of fear, and don't let it be out of out of your emotions, and you're just catching anxiety attacks. But let it truly be from the sincerity of your heart. You know, Abba Yahuwah, I know you said you're gonna bring me here, but I need you to help me right now, because I'm kind of, I'm not struggling, but right now this thing is getting a little, shaky for me. The ground is not as stable as it was. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And I need your help. I need you just to kind of breathe on me a little bit. I need you just to kind of move some things for me. I need you to encourage my heart, to secure me in this, so that I don't make no wrong decision and I don't make no stupid choice to mess up my life and mess up my walk with you. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Because certain things in our lives can cause us to mess up if we're not careful. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
So it's important that we maintain that relationship with Abba Yahuwah. All right. And he tells him in verse 21, let's pick up at verse 22. He says, now therefore, O Yahuwah, power, deliver me, I pray thee also from the hands of my brother Esau, for I am greatly afraid of him. He was really afraid of him. Are you following me?
Yes.
It's not always people that we are afraid of. Sometimes it's situations we are afraid of. Sometimes it's things, past situations, repeating the same mistakes we've repeated in the past. I was watching a movie on last Layla, and it was talking about take a second look. It was like, no, consider this. And to make a short story long, I like to use movies as analogies, because some of them are great for bringing for when we're dealing with reality and we're dealing with realistic or real situations. And it was this young man. He was in college, and his mother had a heart disease, and his daddy walked off and left him when they were young, and and so forth. And so he found himself in situations to where he was afraid to be like his father, because he felt like that he would become like his father. And so he would do different things, and he was in a relationship, but he wanted a more stable relationship, and he wanted to have a relationship to where they could build and have a family. And so he was going to school to be a psychiatrist. And so he was going, and there was this, once again, it was a melanated movie. I don't say Hebrew because everybody in Hebrew, but it was a movie created by melanated people. And so I thought it was a great movie, because it just showed he had a fear. He had a fear of failing. He had a fear of making the same mistakes that his Abba made. He didn't want to have a family and then down the road walk out on them. You could check out on a person before you check out on them physically. You could check out on them emotionally. And that's the worst kind of checkout, because a person will just be there just to occupy space. But here it is. He was afraid to be like his Abba. And so he would do different things. And so the psychiatrist told him, he said, if you want to do better, he said, what do you need to do? He said, I need to start making the right choices now. If we're going to do better and become better, then we've got to put that in our life. We got to put that make that a part of our daily regimen. I'm going to do better. I'm going to strive for perfection. I'm going to be that upright person that Abba Yahuwah is depending upon. You got to start making those choices right now, not tomorrow, not the next day, or the next young, but you have to start making those things and those choices now, because if not, you will find yourself getting older and you will make the same mistakes over and over again. Are you following me?
Yes.
And eventually that wears out. And the thing of it is, once again, it's important for us to understand when you have people in your life, when you do these things, guess what happens? You drag them with you. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
And this is something we don't want to do. You don't want to do that. And so in the end, though, he got his stuff together. And the young lady that he was in a hob with, they had, had a little situation that happened, and they almost broke. Well, they did break up, but they got back together. And so he learned the principle of forgiveness. And so he was able to forgive his Abba, and she was able to forgive him for a misunderstanding. But once again, when it's all said and done, when we know better, we what?
Do better.
Say it again.
Do better.
We do better. When we know better, we do better. If you don't do better, you can't blame anybody but yourself, because the only person that holds us captive is who? Ourselves. And so it's important for us to understand that. All right, let's start at verse 22, please. Look at one.
Can you listen? Verse 22. During the night, Yaakov got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female slaves, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Yabok. He took them and sent them across the stream along with all his possessions. Yaakov was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not defeat him, he struck Yaakov's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Then he said to Yaakov, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." Yaakov said, "I will not let you go until you bring me." "What is your name?" the man asked. "Yaakov," he replied. "Your name will no longer be Yaakov," he said. "It will be Yasharal, because you have struggled with Yahuwah and with men and have prevailed." Then Yaakov asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he answered, "Why do you ask my name?" And he buried him there. Yaakov then named the place Peniel, for I have seen Yahuwah face to face, he said, and I have been delivered. The sun shone on him as he passed by Peniel, limping because of his hip. That is why to this day the Yasharites don't eat the thigh muscle, that is the hip socket, because he struck Yaakov's hip socket at the thigh muscle. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so.
It is so.
All right, let's look at this. Okay, now let's look at now he took his family and he separated himself from his family, and we start with verse 22. And he rose up that Layla and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford of Yabok. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent over what he had. And Yaakov was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of Yom. Now, what makes this so significant and important too is that he was right back at that same place in that same situation. And I believe that when he pushed everything over, it is because he wanted to be in that same situation he was in when he encountered Abba Yahuwah the first time, when he had nothing and he was alone. Are you following me? There are times in your life that you have to kind of move people and move things out the way so that you can get to the presence or get into the heart and get into the as I said, the presence of Abba Yahuwah, that you're able to seek him and that you're able to truly grab a hold of him like never before. And one of the things that I saw in verse 26, it says, once he took, it says mentioned, it is importance of them of the order. He led them all to the edge of the brook, then crossed over himself to see if the place was suitable, then returned and led them across all at the same time. He wanted to make sure where his family was a safe haven for them while he went and sought the face of Abba Yahuwah. There are times you have to get out of what is the norm. You have to put yourself aside and take that time, shut the phone off, push people out the way. And anybody that's walking with you will come to understand if they really are in tune with Abba Yahuwah and really want like you want from him, they will understand that or overstand that. If not, then they will understand it. Are you following me?
Yes.
For those that overstand, realize what you're trying to do. For those that understand it, really don't, because they're under it. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, 11 children. It says, but where was Dinah? He secreted her in a chest, lest Esau saw her and desired her. Yaakov was, listen, says, punished for this, as she might have had a good influence or a great influence upon Esau. Therefore, she fell into the hands of Shechem. So you got to understand, many times I read this now, once again, and I always like to read my footnotes. So, because sometimes people do come across different footnotes and come across different information. And the reason why this is important for us to understand is that we know that Dinah fell into the hands of Shechem. And when she fell into the hands of him, he raped her, and basically he kept her there. Now, out of this union, there came a child, but we will talk about that another time. And so one of the things that is important is that it said that he was punished behind this. We can't say he was punished behind it. Are you following me? But we can say that even in the very beginning or the platform of things in our lives, if we don't make the right choices, then the end result, even no matter how far along down the road it is, can still be devastating to us if we don't make the right choices in the very beginning. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now, after he had left them alone, verse 25, having sent all on the others, after crossing, he returned because he had went back. Now, it says he wrestled with the man to prevent him from fleeing so that he might see how Yahuwah kept the promise that he would not be harmed. Undoubtedly, the Malach was acting on Yahuwah's command and thereby intimated that Yaakov and his seed would be saved, and Baruch, this being the outcome of the wrestling. Now, verse 26, he prevailed not because Yaakov cleaved so firmly to Yahuwah in thought and speech, because a Malach can only do or can do only what he has been commissioned and permitted to do. And this one was permitted only to strain his thigh. Now you have to understand something. He had a grapple on him. He didn't have a hold on him. You know what a grapple is? He had that kind of grab your legs, wrap around him, hold on tight, punch me, kick me, bite me. I'm not letting you go till you Baruch me. That's how we have to be. I won't change my speech. I won't change my mindset. I will hold on. Are you following me? Because I know you didn't bring me to this place. There's got to be something. And if you gave me these promises, you're not going to leave me. Are you following me?
Yes.
And he held on, boy. He had that grapple on me. Like, look, I'm trying not to do this, but since, he had to give permission. He said, I can't do nothing else, but I got to do this because if I don't, now that lets you know that Yaakov was strong too. I told you he wasn't a pushover. But he was strong. And you have to understand, it's not all the time about being physically strong. It's about being emotionally strong, about mentally strong, right? Strong. Being mentally strong, being strong, Torah strong, being strong because your mindset is no matter how tired I am, no matter how frustrated I may become, I'm not going to let go. I'm not going to let go of his principles. I'm not going to lose being in touch with his instructions for my life. I'm not going to let it go. Even if I have to walk it alone, I'm not going to let it go. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
It's important that we understand that. And so this is what it is being conveyed, because he was like, I'm not going to let go. I can't let go. I've come too far and I've seen what you are capable of doing, and I would be a fool to let you go. Are you following me?
Yes.
So he wrestled with him. Now he touched the hollow of his thigh. The Midrash observes he touched or affected all the righteous men who were to descend upon him, this being an allusion to the generation of the destruction. Now, the various generations in the troublous times of the first century, when the Ibram were persecuted for their belief, the Malach told him the sins which the future leaders of Yasharal would commit. Yaakov was therefore so weakened that the Malach was able to hurt him. The laming of Yaakov was his punishment for wanting to flee, not relying on Yahuwah. Now, once again, these you have to understand, this is a person's opinion. When you look at Midrash, you have to understand this is where you gather up all the Talmudic, and you gather up all basically the collaboration of the rabbis and sages, the ones that followed in that, and that was what they believed. But I believe that he touched him because it wasn't that he didn't believe, it was because he didn't want to let go. And you have to remember, the breaking of Yom was coming. And he said, you got to let me go. When you are adamant and when you are determined and you have made it and you say, I'm not going to let go, and you hold on, ain't nothing break you away from that. And this was his determination because he wanted to make sure that what Abba Yahuwah had promised him was going to prevail. And that's what we have to do. We can't let go.
That's right.
Once again, no matter what may seem like the odds being stacked against us. And let me tell you something. You're going to have that time in your life where it feels like everything and everybody's stacked against you. But you still got to hold on, because you got to realize that he is the majority of one. And if the whole world turns against us, guess what? He is more for us than the world that would ever be against us. Right. And so that is important for us to understand and never get to that point to where we feel like, oh, woe is me, I'm the only one going through. No, we're not the only one that's going through. There are other people going through worse situations than we are. But the bottom line is not allowing your emotions to be broken, not allowing your ruach to be crippled, and not allowing your zeal and your determination and your joy to be contaminated, in a sense. Not let it steal your joy. You know how we used to say when we was in Christianity, I ain't gonna let this steal my joy now. This ain't gonna take my joy away. Right. It may take other stuff, but it ain't gonna take my joy away. And we have to be that same way. I'm not gonna let it take my joy away. Now it may make me mad, but it ain't gonna take my joy away. Right. It may even make me cry. Watch somebody say, but if you're crying, how can you still have joy? Because you have to understand, joy is not happiness. Happiness is a state of being. But joy is a way of life. We have joy because we have his instructions. We have joy because we know we've been set apart from everybody else, and we are the apple of his eye. That's what gives us joy. That's right. Are you hearing me? Yes. So it's important that we understand. We get happy when we drink a glass of wine. You get happy if you drink scotch. You get happy if you drink vodka or gin. You get happy. Are you hearing me? Yes. But there is something about joy. The joy of Abba Yahuwah is what? Our strength. So it's important that we hold on and we maintain that mentality once again. And I believe that this is what the writers are alluding to, is that he wouldn't let go. With everything else being on his mind, when it came to that part right there, it was like, I know the rest of that can go out the door. But this I can't let go. And so it was for that, I believe, that this is why he was not able to break loose, because it was like, no, I can't let go. Because if I let you go, then what else am I going to have? Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. All right. Verse 27. Do we read all the way to verse 27? All right. I'm going to read this, and then we're going to continue. I want to finish out at least chapter, something is in my eye, 32. And if there is no righteous in me, do it for the sake of Abraham and my Abba Isaac. For I know that through kindness and mercy I have acquired this wealth. Now therefore I beseech thee to deliver me this yom with thy kindness and to answer me. Now, once again, we're kind of just going back. Verse 24, and Yaakov ceased praying to Yahuwah, and he divided the people that were with him with the flocks and cattle into two camps. And he gave the half to the care of Damesk and the son of Elazar, Abraham's servant, for a camp, and his children, and the other half he gave to care of his brother Elianas, the son of Eliezer, to be for a camp with his children. Now this is what was so amazing to me, or Elazar. What was so amazing to me is that they didn't outgrow doing what they were supposed to do. They didn't get to a point in their lives and said, I'm not going to be no babysitter, or I'm not going to be sitting up here doing this for somebody else. I got my own vision. I got my own thing. I got my own ends. I got my own bit. No, no, they didn't go and do that. Are you following me? Yeah. But they maintained, and watch this. One of the things as I was studying this that really pricked my ruah is that they were taught how to do what they did. They didn't just jump into this and say, well, I'm going to be a servant. I'm going to be this. No, they were raised to do what they were doing. Abraham, Elazar was with Abraham, and his children were passed down to his children's children. So they kept that line and they kept that formula and that method that made the whole thing which was taking place, made it strong. And this is one of the things that we have to look at. They didn't sit up there and complain, like I said, and say, I got my own family. What am I about to babysit his family for? This fool come up in here, he gonna kill us all. They didn't have that problem. Why? Because they were taught how to do what they do. We're talking about this was a family ministry gift. This was family. And he raised his sons to paraclete, to serve his master's children. And they did it willingly. Nobody had to hold a gun over their head. Nobody had to make them do this. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Once again, it's important that we see the full picture, because if you notice, we don't have servants today or to y'all. We don't even have people most of the time that will stick by us. Now let me say what I'm going to say. You got those camps, and if nothing else, them brothers is dedicated. If we can't say nothing else, they are dedicated. They will take a bullet. They will take a beating. They will take whatever, because they have their leaders. They will stand right there and say, if you're going to bring it, you better make sure you be ready to take some. You're going to bring some, you better be ready to take some. Are you following me? Yeah. And so it is important that we understand, once again, of the makeup of this and the method in which things were done. And so he was able to give them this task and not worry about his family being left because somebody gets scared and run off. Or because somebody catches the notion and reads something, now they got a revelation. Now they feel like they got to bounce like a rubber check or a ball. Am I making sense?
Yes.
This is important for us to understand. And look, and it was the two brothers, once again, they were raised and groomed for this position. They were raised and groomed for that position. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Verse 25. And he commanded them, saying, keep yourselves at a distance with your camps, and do not come too near each other. And if Esau come to one camp and slay it, the other camp at a distance from it will escape him. You don't hear nobody saying, I got a question. Put your hand down. You don't hear anybody with their hands up saying, hey, I got a question. You say now, if they get destroyed, we don't go help them fight. So you're telling me we got to keep moving? They had no problem with what? Following orders. Right. One of the things that I believe with us as a people, when everything happened to our ancestors and forefathers, that trickled down into many of us, that we don't like following instructions. We don't like nobody telling us what to do. And then telling me I'm going to take a job like that where I got to babysit somebody. My family is important to me too. You going to go and do this and I got to do that? I don't think so. But they had no problem. Why? Because they were groomed for this. They were raised for this. And this is why when you look in, and I'm going to use this as a platform and parallel. This is why in Christianity, you have so many people that are diehards. Because this is what they are raised to do. This is what they are bought in. You have those where they say he is his what, or she is their what? Adjutant. And so you have people going to school to be adjutants. You have people going to school to learn how to carry this and to do this and to do that. Because they're serious about what they do. We don't have to go to school to do these things. We just have to find out where we fit in the puzzle and get in there and let Yahuwah put us in place. Right. That's all we have to do. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
He told me, he said, distance yourself. So if one can't, then the other can escape. No problem whatsoever. Verse 26, and Yaakov, now once again, this is from the scroll of Yasher. Verse 26, and Yaakov tarried there that night, or that Layla. And during the whole Layla, he gave his servants instructions concerning the forces and his children. Once again, what any commander would do, or anybody that's over anything, you trying to make sure your stuff stays straight. Look, we got to talk about this now, because I need y'all to make sure. I need to be assured that when I lay down and keep one eye open, because I'm surely not going to go all the way to sleep, that you understand my instructions and you're able to what? Comply. You're able to do these things, because I can't go to sleep until I am fully sure. Because watch this also, because I am fully persuaded that Yaakov understood I can't lose you either. because you are very important to me. You are important to this. Why? Because you are a part of this. You are a part of this. And because you are a part of this makeup, you are a part of this system. You are a part of this method. If I lose you, that means I lose a piece of this link. And that means this can't be connected and it can't be together. So it's important that we understand this. And Yahuwah heard the prayer of Yaakov on that Yom, and Yahuwah then delivered Yaakov from the hands of his brother Esau. Now listen what it says in verse 28. Like I said, we're reading down because I want us to see. This is kind of the fill-in. We read all the way to verse 30. This is kind of giving us the fill-in of what's taking place in this. And verse 28. And Yahuwah sent 3 Malach of the Malach of Shemayim, and they went before Esau and came to him. And these Malach appeared unto Esau and his people as 2,000 men riding upon horses furnished with all sorts of war instruments. And they appeared in the sight of Esau and all his men to be divided into 4 camps, with 4 chiefs to them. And one camp, went on, and they found Esau coming with 400 men toward his brother Yaakov, and this camp ran toward Esau and his people and terrified them. And Esau fell off the horse in alarm, and all his men separated from him in that place, for they were greatly afraid. Now, let's finish reading. Let's go. I'm going to read all the way to verse 32. And one camp went on, and they found Esau coming. Verse 31. And the whole of the camp shouted after them when they fled from Esau, and all the warlike men answered, saying, Surely we are the servants of Yaakov, who is the servant of Yahuwah, and who then can stand against us? And Esau said unto them, O then, my savior and my or master and my brother Yaakov is your master, whom I have not seen for these 20 years. And now that I have this young come to see him, do you treat me in this manner? Because he's trying to figure out why he's been treated this way. Like I say, people get amnesia when the stacks are against them and the tables turn. I don't know what you're talking about. What you mean? You know what I mean? Are you hearing me? So things start changing when the odds are now not in your favor, but they are against you. And so in verse 33, and the Malach answered him, saying, As Yahuwah liveth, were not Yaakov of whom thou speakest thy brother, we had not let one remaining from thee and thy people, but only on account of Yaakov we will do nothing to them. And verse 34, and this camp passed from Esau and his men and went away. And Esau and his men had gone from them about a league when the second camp came toward him with all sorts of weapons. And they also did unto Esau and his men as the first camp had done to them. By the time they get to them, it's like going through a car wash. You straight or you 3D. You 3D. All right. Verse 35. And when they had left it to go on, behold, the third camp came toward him, and they were all terrified. And Esau fell off the horse, and the whole camp cried out and said, Surely we are the servants of Yaakov, who is the servant of Yahuwah. Who can stand against us? Verse 36. And Esau again answered, saying, O then, Yaakov, my master, and your master is my brother. And for 20 years I have not seen his countenance. And hearing this Yom that he was coming, I went this Yom to meet him, and do you treat me in this manner? And they answered him and said unto him, As Yahuwah liveth, were not Yaakov thy brother, as thou didst say, we had not left a remnant from thee and thy men, but on account of Yaakov, of whom thou speakest, being thy brother, we will not meddle with thee or thy men. So it's almost like he's trying to, get in his mind, I haven't done anything, so why are y'all here? And if you notice, the Malach repeated the same message. It didn't change to convey what was being said. So as we look over here and go back, let's look at this real quick. And it says, and let's look at this verse that covers that. Now let's look at verse 25. Let me check in here real quick. All right. Had to just go down just a little further. Now, after this going on, once again, all this is taking place like I say, this is the fill in the gaps. This is the kind of when you're putting bricks up, or when you are building a brick wall, you have the bricks and that mortar. That's what you call it, the mortar. You put in there and you put it in, and you see how people do it so nice, and they take their finger and they rub it down, and it's just in there, just perfect, just nice and neat. And that's what you put in between there. And this is what is to help us to understand what was going on behind the scenes when we only read, okay, this happened. So what else happened? Why was their response or the reaction in that way? Now, when we look at verse, now let's look at okay, verse 38. And the third camp also passed, and we know what happened, and the men as the others had done. And when Esau beheld the evil which the four Malach had done to him and to his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Yaakov, and he went to meet him in Shalom. They had to basically break him, because that first one, that second, that third, that fourth one, he had got it in his head. Now you got to change your mindset, because you still hadn't gotten it, even though you had this pass through you for this 3 times. That fourth time is what did it. Okay. Yeah. Now, and Esau concealed his hatred against Yaakov because he was afraid of his life on account of his brother Yaakov. And because he imagined that the 4 camps that he had lighted upon were Yaakov's servants. Once again, these were the Malach that came on the behalf. Now, once again, this is why when we take the writing seriously, he said that that Yahuwah will be more for us in the world that will be against us, because you have to understand whatever he has and we are walking in truth, it's ours. That army belongs to us. Are you following me?
Yes.
But you have to understand the only way that army will be released to work on our behalf is if it's needed. He just ain't gonna have it just for you to flex. And so that's important for us to understand. Verse 41. And Yaakov tarried that night with his servants in their camps. And he resolved with his servants to give unto Esau a present from all that he had with him, and from all his property. And Yaakov rose up in the morning, he and his men, and they chose from amongst the cattle a present for Esau. Now, once again, you have to understand. Now, I want to kind of look at this when we start thinking about these terms. Yaakov had what? He had a council. He had a council. Now, once again, and listen, and this is how we know he had a council. And Yaakov rose early in the morning, he and his men, and they chose, they meaning plural. He didn't do it by himself. So he had a council. And I'm learning, everybody can't be on your council. Everybody can't be, because everybody's not going to, if they don't have the same mindset and they don't have that like-minded, they're not like-minded. Right. You could be saying, give them that one. They be like, no, well, that one right there is better, because that one, we can afford to get rid of that one. We can afford to get rid of this one. No, we're going to get rid of that one because that's the better one. Are y'all following me? Yes. And not only that, but there is strength in what? Wise counsel. And so it's important that we have wise counsel, not just counsel, but wise counsel. And it's sad, but there are times you can't get that, because it just is, and we need to pray. This is an area we really need to pray concerning. Now, verse 42, and this is the amount of the present which Yaakov chose from his flock to give unto his brother Esau. And he selected 240 head from the flocks, and he selected from the camels and asses 30 each. And of the herds, he chose 50 kin or kind. And he put them all in 10 droves, and he placed each sort by itself, and he delivered them in the hands of 10 of his servants, each drove by itself. Now, once again, he was a strategist. He just didn't do anything. Like I said, you got to have some kind of strategy. You got to have something that when you are dealing with people that are warheads, or people that have that war mentality, you got to have some type of strategy. You got to have some kind of smarts. Are you following me? Yes. And now this is what I'm going to say this. And street smarts is not always bad, as long as you understand when to use it, and that you've given that gift over to Abba Yahuwah. Right. So you ain't trying to be street and be hood in the kingdom. Because it can't mix. Are you following me? Yes. We have to remember that. I have to remind myself that you can't mix, gangster style. When you do certain things, you have to make sure that certain things are in their proper perspective. Are you following me? Yes. This is where we have to understand we're queens and there are kings out there. And queens and kings don't handle stuff like gangsters and mobsters and
Right.
thugs. Are you
Right.
following me?
Yes.
We deal with stuff using what? Our influence, our money, our prosperity. Are you following me?
Yes.
Our status. That's what we use. And so if need be, we need to pull some strength. We have that backing. And so it's important that we understand that. Verse 44, and he commanded them and said unto them, keep yourselves at a distance from each other and put a space between the droves. And when Esau and those are with him shall meet you and ask you, saying, whose are you and whither do you go? To whom belongeth all this before you? You shall say unto them, we are the servants of Yaakov, and we come to meet Esau and Shalom, and behold, Yaakov coming behind us. And that which is before us is a present sent from Yaakov to his brother Esau. Verse 46 in the scroll of Yasher. And if they shall say unto you, why doeth he delay behind you from coming to meet his brother and to see his face? Then you shall say unto them, surely he cometh joyfully behind us to meet his brother. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth to him. And after this I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So the whole present passed on in the hands of his servants. Once again, he had servants. They understood their task. They understood what was required of them. They understood that this is what they were put in that position to do, and nothing more and nothing less. That was their responsibility. And so they understood that. Now it says, verse 47, and on that Yom he lodged that night with his camp by the border of the brook of Yabuk. And he rose up in the midst of the night, and he took his wives and his maidservants and all belonging to him, and he that Layla passed them over the ford Yabuk. And when he passed all belonging to him over the brook, Yaakov was left by himself, and a man met with him, wrestled with him that night, or that Layla, unto the breaking of the Yom. And the hollow of Yaakov's thigh was out of joint through wrestling with him. Once again, we've come to understand, but I wanted to bring you up to speed in the scroll of Yasher. And verse 49 says, and at the break of Yom, the man left Yaakov there, and he baruched him and went away. And Yaakov passed the brook at the breaking of Yom, and he halted upon his thigh. And the sun arose upon him when he had passed the brook, and he came up to the place of his cattle and children. Now, once again, it's important that we understand that this is the time that Yaakov's name is changed. We can look in verse in Bereshit, chapter 32, verse 27. Let's look at verse 28. After he wrestled with him and he was able to basically the Malak was not able to prevail. In other words, he wasn't able to break loose. Verse 28, he said, your name is no longer Yaakov, but Yasharal, because you have striven or strove with power and with men and have overcome. In other words, he was able to, in spite of how they set him up, in spite of how the things turned, he was still able to maintain, and he never lost his integrity. And so his name was changed. And I believe this is why, as the children of Yashua, we must understand there are certain things we have to go through before our name is truly properly changed. Because when Yahuwah changes your name, everybody will know and recognize it, and they won't forget that your name is changed.
Sorry.
And so he was able to overcome Laban, Esau foolishness, Laban's foolishness, and then he was able to maintain that rigorous struggle with Abba Yahuwah and holding on and not letting go to the promises and not questioning the promises to the point that it's like, you don't hear me, I'm out the door, I'm out the door, I'm about to put my hand on the doorknob, doing that Nemo act, I'm going to touch the boat, but he didn't say boat, I'm going to touch the butt, and end up getting out there and got swiped up. But you're not pushing the limits. You're not pushing the envelope. You've made up your mind that this is what it is, and I'm going to hold on until my visitation and my time has come. And so this is what happened, and his name was changed because of that. And Yaakov asked him, saying, please let me know your name. And he said, why do you ask about my name? And he baruched him there. And Yaakov called the name of that place Peniel. Now, one of the reasons why, now you have to understand the reason why the Malak said, why are you worried about my name? Right now, this is a defining moment for you, and a Yafa moment for you, because your name has now been changed. No more will people look at you the same way. Not only did your name change, but watch this, even your stature changed.
Right.
And so not only do we get name changes, but even our stature changes, and things about us that were known and familiar with other people will change. And we have to look at this as a whole, not just as individuals, but as a whole people. And it is so.
Yes.
Now, when it says he called that place Peniel, now you have to understand, even when you hear people talk about the pineal gland, which is the third eye per se. Now, follow me what I'm going to say. The reason why many people believe that this is what he was talking about is because of the way it is, I believe, spelled and pronounced. You have to understand there are two pineals. There is pineal, the place, and then there's the pineal gland, in which people refer to as the third eye. And they believe the reason why Yaakov used this is because Yaakov said when he wrestled with Abba Yahuwah, he saw him, but he saw him from a third eye. Are you following me?
Yes.
I incline to believe this matter, that it is not concerning a third eye, but it is the place in which he called it, because he was able to see Abba Yahuwah. Why? Because of his relationship, and he saw him from his heart and not a third eye.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
So once again, and this is where a lot of time people take that practice, because we look at it in the verse, for I have seen power face to face, and my life is preserved. And so this is why they said he was talking from the perspective of seeing him from his pineal gland, that gland that's right here. And they said it looks like a pineapple. I mean, not a pineapple, it's pineapple, pine cone. Pine cone. Pine cone. Say it looked like a pineapple, pine cone. And they say basically, and that's where it resides, right here in the center of your forehead. And this is why people talk about opening your third eye. Well, if you have a third eye and it's a part of your body, look like you don't do anything to open it, it's going to be open anyway. Why? Because it's a place of resource, or it's a place that receives resources. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, you don't have to accept what I'm saying. You don't even have to believe it, but just follow me. We don't have to go and be told how to open our eyes. That's the first thing you do. Firsthand nature, even when a baby is born, the eyes are already open in the womb. So when you come out of the womb, your eyes are open. Nobody has to tell you to open your eyes for you to see.
Right.
Nobody has to tell you to open your ears for you to hear. It is a part of us, and this is what we do. But many a times we get caught up into syncretism. And we start following in other ways, and we start taking up other habits that we ought not take up. Now, once again, I know a lot of people will not accept that, because many people believe you have to open up your third eye. You need to feed your third eye. You need to feed. Well, when you eat your regular food that's supposed to alkaline your body, why do you have to eat a different food set aside when this is supposed to be right here in the center of your head? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
When we eat food, does it not go in the bloodstream, and does it not benefit the whole body? So then why do we have to eat certain foods for the pineal gland? Once again, follow my reasoning, y'all. Once again, we sometimes can pick up different, we can pick up syncretism, or we can walk in syncretism. We just start doing it because somebody else did it, but really never go deep in and following where did this stem from? Because you can't make me believe that Yaakov was speaking from a third eye. But he was speaking from that experience that he had. Because let me tell you something that happened to him, and this is why he had a limp. He had a limp. So he could truly say out of his heart of hearts and out of his mouth, he had seen Abba Yahuwah face to face. And his life was preserved. In other words, he didn't die.
Right.
So we can see that. All right, 31 and 32. I'm going to read that and we're going to pray. And the sun rose on him as he passed over Peniel, and he limped on his hip. That is why the children of Yasharal to this yom do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of the thigh of Yaakov in the sinew of the hip. Now you can imagine when his wives saw him and everybody saw him, asking, "Did you fall on a rock or something? What happened to you? Why are you limping?" And then looking at his posture and looking at his statue, that it had changed. Because you can't make me believe that when they saw him that he didn't look different. But when they saw him, right, he had that mad limp on, that monster lip. You can't make me believe that when they saw him that they did not recognize that he was not the same person. Not because he was overwhelmed and because he was fearful, but because there's something about the presence of Abba Yahuwah being on your life. You can smell it. It can even be tasted. It can be seen. It can be experienced. Are you following me? Because we are carriers of his instructions. Now you have to understand, once again, we are the natural habitation for the Torah. And because of this, it is important that we understand that when we go into places, we represent whatever's in us. If it's not in you, then you can't, then there's nothing you could do. But if it is in you, then you must remember you are a representative of his truth. And because it's there, watch this. The only way it can be blocked is that your life is stink in the nostrils of Abba Yahuwah. And this is why we need to make sure our lives smell fresh and that our lives are not, what are they called? Histamine blockers. And when your nose is all stopped up and they give you that stuff to unstop your nose. And antihistamines, thank you. Where it unstops your nose. You want something, we don't want to be blocking the essence, the smell, the aroma, and the pleasantness, the pleasant taste and fragrance of Abba Yahuwah's presence and his word and his instructions over our lives, because our vessels are dirty. So it's really important that we maintain our walk and that we follow these examples that have been placed before us. Once again, we've read all the way to chapter 33. I tend to take my time. Why? Because I want to get out what he's given me to give out to you so that we can flesh this thing out. We can easily read through each one of the verses and never expound on it. But I don't want to go that route, because this is something I believe that he has put in my heart to expound upon, so that as I expound upon it, it'll cause that what is in you, the Torah, as it was Yehukanan who leaped in the womb of Elizabeth. That very thing will leap in your womb as you hear it and as you partake of it. Are you following me?
Yes.
And so you can know that what is in you is still alive. I'm persuaded that there was some point in her life, the reason why there was that had to take place, because we don't know what was going on in Elizabeth's life. We don't know. Maybe she thought or she felt that the baby in her womb may not have been had made it because she was older. But we do know this: Yahuwah has a way to encourage us like nobody else.
Right.
He knows how to make you jump. Well, that's on way back when I was younger, my 20s. Jump. What Crisscross did it. I'll make you jump. I think that's how it went. But you have to understand something. Yahuwah knows how to make that vision and make what he's placed in us jump. So I want to encourage you. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow, Yahuwah willing, 11:45. Somebody say 11:45.
11:45.
Say it again like you mean it.
11:45.
11:45. We will be back here, this same place. Yahuwah willing, ready to go to the next portions of our class, chapters 33, 34, 35, all the way to chapter 36. We want to get the conclusion of this matter, and we want to take it and we want to cover it and we want to guard it. So with that being said, I want you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong. Stay encouraged. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Ministries, this is the place where
The Torah does the body excellence.
until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.